design, and people don't know what that means. What is that word?
Graphic design is utilization of imagery, photographs, and typography to convey some kind of a message.
Design is about persuasion. Buy my product. Go to my rock concert event. These are persuasions.
You have just discovered what graphic design is. The question posed to us for this project was, what are some good basics of graphic design? In this video, we will be covering some good and bad principles of design, how to choose a designer, and the necessity of having a web presence.
You know, something's good, okay, compared to what? So you're looking at design and it has its own existence and it looks beautiful, but then I have to say compared to what? But one of the comparisons for a small business owner is to compare it to the solutions of their problems. Are you a small business owner, a restaurant owner who needs to have more customers, and so you need some kind of advertising that incorporates graphic design? That's where it should start. What are your needs? What are your questions? That would determine what good is.
Graphic design is a form of art, and therefore subject to the entire criterion for what makes good art. According to Graphic Design, The New Basics, by Ellen Lupton and Jennifer Cole Phillips, some of these criteria include the usage of line, shape, color, space, and composition. How you identify what is good usage of these elements depends on what you need or the problem that you need to have solved.
Design is kind of like art in that it's subjective from person to person, and what I like you might not like. Just because a design is clean, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right on every time. Like maybe you're designing a website for a dirt bike competition, like maybe that needs to be busier and muddier. It doesn't necessarily need to be clean, but I guess you can, I think good design is impactful.
Unity is piecing together all of the elements of art in a way that makes sense. Unity also includes making sure that promotional materials of a company all look consistent. For example, web design, brochures, business cards, and signage should all contain the same mark.
The brochure also has to have that same look of the company. The poster that the company makes has to have that same look. Otherwise, all of a sudden you've paid a lot of money for a logo, and you have a different look for your brochure, and then a poster becomes different. You think, well, is that the same company?
There's a lot more people putting out design work than there ever was before, and sharing it than there ever was before. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of good design.
Bad principles would be just slapping something on, and that's what people do. They go, oh, this is a lot of thought. I thought about 5 minutes on, you know, if I was going to use Times Roman or Garamond or Helvetica, you know. And we think, oh, I can think a whole day about, you know, Helvetica. Good history of graphic design, many companies you'll see simplicity in a mark. And some people, I used to live in Alaska, and they'd say, well, for this logo we want to have, you know, our company name, and we want to have the whole state of Alaska. And Alaska's a big state, and it's pretty bad shape, you know. And people want to have everything in their logo. And so really they need to think of the simplicity. And whenever we look at marks and symbols and really good logos that have lasted the test of time, like CBS TV, NBC, that kind of thing, we see simplicity. A business has to put its best foot forward, and what is that going to be? It's going to be its image, number one, because whenever they write a letter, whenever someone goes into the business, the first thing you see is that image.
If you're going into a business and you're selling a product or service that you want to sell, and that product or service is really awesome, you should have a visual identity or a visual language that speaks to that product or service.
You know how we say, well, you can't judge a book by its cover, but that is the cover. The logo is the cover. So if I'm going to decide, you know, I'm going to go to this business or that business, if I'm looking at, let's just say it's a restaurant, I'm going to look at the logo, you know, and maybe unconsciously, you know, most people look at, like, what does that mean when I see that logo or that logo? It means that this is home cooking and this is more of a corporate thing.
It's important for business to maintain and burnish and polish and support the brand, because that's what people support now. Nobody has time to really go and inspect the cars or look at the jeans or the t-shirts. They're going to trust the brand, right? I trust the brand until it's not trustworthy.
When people see or think about your brand, they have that visual that kind of snaps. Like when you think about like Nike, it's like in my head I just get this boom, like Nike swoosh that comes up. When you think of Target, boom, think of the bullseye.
McDonald's is a mark. Everyone knows it. You know, it's not a bad mark, and it's lasted again the test of time.
Now that we know what graphic design is, how should you go about choosing a graphic designer that will best suit your needs? It is important to understand your options when choosing a graphic designer because there are many avenues that you can go down.
One is to look for a freelance designer. You'll probably get someone that isn't going to charge as much because they don't have the marketing people behind them, and they don't have a large office, that type of thing. So they could be looking for freelance designers, or they could be looking for a design studio, or even an advertising agency.
Just because an agency is bigger and has more services doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong.
Sometimes people think, well, it's really expensive. I don't want to get a designer. I just want to use maybe some student, or my secretary, or whatever it is, my administrative assistant, to do something. Maybe they can put it together, but it's not going to look very good. In the long run, you'll save yourself a lot of money if you get a designer, because they're going to give you a nicer look.
According to a brochure distributed by AIGA, a graphic design association, there are 3 important steps a business needs to remember when meeting with a designer. The first step is define the problem. Know what you want. Know who your target market is. Be sure to be open to the designer's creative perspective. Working together, you will find an approach as to how a solution can be reached. The second step is innovate. The designer will come to you with several options or prospective solutions. Then you will work with the designer to decide on the option that best fits your needs. The third and final step is generating value. You will activate the solution by making sure that people know about it and assume the solution as your organizational identity. Earlier we discussed the concept of unity, or having your company's look stay consistent with various types of media. This also applies to the company's website. It is important to discuss with your designer your company's web presence.
I think businesses have to be diversified. It isn't only one thing anymore. It's a website, yes, but there's also Facebook, there's also Twitter. That's what people have to be considering when they're advertising and they're using communication that design provides.
According to the Internet World Stats, a publication of Miniwatts Marketing Group, an international market research company, there are over 1.5 billion Internet users worldwide, and 75% of the US population uses the Internet regularly. According to the US Census Bureau, in 2007, nearly half of consumers' purchases were made online. These statistics show that having a web presence is highly important to a business.
I think businesses have a responsibility to the community. What are you going to do for the community? How can you contribute? And one way is to add beauty, and add another mark, another graphic design mark is adding beauty. And not only that, but it's going to get you a certain clientele that you want as well. It's going to help your business.
In this video, we have learned what graphic design is, what the good principles are, how to choose a designer, and the importance of exhibiting your company's design presence on the web. We hope this information will be useful in helping to improve your business, and if you are interested in more in-depth information on the subject, refer to the following publications: American Institute of Graphic Design, Step Inside Design Magazine, How Magazine, Print Magazine, and local AAF, formerly known as AdFed.